Owner Joe Tsai met in London recently, and Durant reiterated his desire to be traded. Sources confirm he suggested the franchise needed to choose between him and Coach Steve Nash and General Manager Sean Marks. And last night, Joe Tsai made his feelings clear, or did he, on Twitter. In this tweet, our front office and coaching staff have my support, Monica McNutt. We will make decisions in the best interest of the Brooklyn Nets. Indeed. Well, welcome you back into the studio. I got Monica McNutt here with me. Bart Scott steps into the building as well.
What's up, party? What's good, man? Good to see you guys.
Look at you, looking refreshed.
Look at you, Monica. Look at you. It was like Pleasantville before. Now we can brighten this whole setup, baby. Let's do it.
Pocket Square and everything else. And Tim Bontemps, we woke him up to get him back here on the show as well out in the West Coast. Tim, the very latest on this KD front as the saga certainly continues.
Well, Alan, you might think that there's something new on the KD front because of what's gone on over the past 24 hours. But to me, what this really says is that we're in the exact same position that Kevin Durant and the Nets have been in since he asked for this trade request back in the end of June. And over the last 6 weeks, the one thing that's been consistently true throughout this entire saga is that the Brooklyn Nets are not getting anywhere near enough in trade packages that they're really considering trading Kevin Durant right now. And so for all the noise that's gone on around this team and around Kyrie Irving and around Kevin Durant, much like the last 4 years, it's really been a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. And ultimately, to me, where we sit right now on August 9th is that in a few weeks, when training camp opens at the end of September, Kevin Durant's going to be in net, and the Brooklyn Nets are going to have to find a way forward with this group, because I just don't see a way that this thing is going to get resolved. I don't see Sean Marks or Steve Nash getting let go. As Joe Tsai said yesterday, that was the easiest tweet for him to send of all time. Let me support my coach and GM over the guy that asked to be traded 6 weeks ago. And the rest of the situation now is just in the same place that it's been, with Kevin Durant hoping to get traded and the Nets not getting anywhere near enough in return to actually want to move him.
Bart, you and I have discussed this story from the very beginning on our show, Bart and Hahn, noon Eastern, ESPN Radio. And it's shameless, shameful. We have seen this from the very beginning.
Yeah.
What do you make of this now, where he's going over everyone's head right to the owner?
Well, we've seen this script before, right? We've seen James Harden do it. We've seen Anthony Davis do the same script. And he's trying to go full Tropic Thunder. He's trying to, make sure that the relationships aren't repairable. Right, so you do that by attacking the two people that you know are going to be there, Sean Marks and Steve Nash. Last I checked, Monica, wasn't Steve Nash and pick from him and Kyrie Irving? So, you mean to tell me all of a sudden, the relationship between Steve Nash, and all of a sudden you don't believe in Steve Nash, but you're the one who appointed him there. So that's what happens when you try and play resident general manager.
Before you say anything,
You like antagonizing me. Go ahead.
Bart referenced something that KD did, remember you said they picked this guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, in April, KD said this about his coach, who at the time was under media scrutiny.
I think he's done a great job. I mean, the last 2 years, he's been dealt a wild hand, injuries, trades, disgruntled players, guys in and out the lineup, stuff that he can't control. And I felt like, he handled it as best as he could.
So then next to him, Kyrie Irving nodding along to everything KD's saying. With that, I give you Exhibit A. Your reaction.
All I'm saying and continue to say is it is at least something that should be explored thoroughly. Bontemps just said you're not going to get the trade value that you want. So when we get to training camp, and should KD escalate this thing to the next level by holding out, now you're going to explore maybe changing your front office folks in order to get him back on the floor? I just think everything should still be on the table, because if the idea is how do I maintain the most value, to me, the front office pieces then become expendable, because we already know you're not getting the trade that you want. That's all I'm saying. Everything is still on the table.
I mean, we know once you go this route, right, you can't come back.
No, help me, Bontemps. Come on.
I need Tim to jump in here, TV, because I had Jay Will in here with Monica, too, and they feel like that all it is a line in the sand, and that KD and Kyrie are going to have to play this year, and everything's going to be fine. Do you see it any differently?
There's no chance that there's no way the Nets can fire Sean Marks and Steve Nash to mollify Kevin Durant after everything that's gone on over the past 6 weeks. This all started back in May when Sean Marks said, we want to take control back of the franchise, right? We want to take control back of our team and kind of get this thing going in a different direction. That by firing the front office, you would just literally be going back to what the Nets have declared we are not going to be doing, which is having the players running the team. Like this is the Nets have charted a different course, and this as I said, that Joe Tsai tweet yesterday was the easiest win of all time. There was that's the simplest thing to say, because at the end of the day, Kevin Durant can't go anywhere. He's under contract for 4 years. He started that extension last week. This isn't about trying to figure out how to keep Kevin Durant there long term. He's there long term unless the Nets trade.
So Bontemps, what if he decides not to play? Like, let's fast forward and nobody's happy, and Allen believes that there's no way that this is reparable because he just told Joe Tsai that he wanted Steve Nash fired. What if KD gets to camp and decides not to play? Then what are we doing?
I personally don't believe Kevin Durant is going to not play.
I agree, but humor me.
But what I will say is that if it does get to that point and he doesn't play, then the Nets are going to wait him out, I think. And I don't think they're going to cave and trade him then. I mean, look, the trade packages that are on the table, to me, are not going to get worse no matter what happens. So the Nets have a choice. The Nets can cut a deal now that's way less than his value and just trade him and get this over with, or they can try to make this work in the best way for them. I think the latter path is the only real path forward to me.
Bart, how does this end?
Well, hey, Kevin, how about I meet you halfway? Because there's no way
That's what Jay said.
I'm not letting Steve Nash, make me have a divorce with Kevin Durant. I'll get rid of Steve Nash. Listen, you're the one who brought him in here. Listen, there's a lot of other qualified coaches that could have been there because of Steve Nash. Steve Nash wouldn't have been a head coach in this league if it wasn't for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. So I'm not letting him stand away in one of the best players, and it's still my window being open. So
there you go.
I'll send him back to Canada with a soccer ball.
Here's
I guess the point I think that needs to be made here is that Kevin Durant is on the team for 4 years. So this isn't about, he's going to be a free agent. We have to change the coach to keep this guy. He's on the team. This isn't about, we need to fire the front office to keep Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's under contract and on the team. So that's what they have to do.
We can agree that this is a mess. We can agree certainly on that, and we will talk more about this later on. The Nets and Nets owner Joe Tsai met in London recently, and Kevin Durant reiterated his desire to be traded. Sources confirm he suggested the franchise needed to choose between him and coach Steve Nash and general manager Sean Marks. Tsai went to Twitter and expressed his support for his coach and his GM. Jay Will joins us here in the studio.
It's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. That's my take.
And I quote, What do you make of this latest now part of this soap opera that's happening there in Brooklyn?
Well, just because you make an ultimatum doesn't mean that I need to abide by it.
Right.
And that's first and foremost. And this to me is Kevin Durant saying, hey, I know something that you're not willing to do, and I want to be traded. So if I were Joe Tsai, in my opinion, I would call KD's bluff. Because at the end of the day, I think KD loves the game of basketball, and I'm curious to see to what extent KD will willing to go through in order to not be on this basketball team. I might find middle ground with Steve Nash to a degree. I might say, hey, let's find a way to talk this out. Is that Steve Nash, and who are the better other candidates that you can bring to the table for Steve Nash? But at the end of the day, I will call KD's bluff because I don't think you're going to get anything on the market equivalent to the value that KD would have as being the best player in basketball right now. I don't.
Mon? I mean, Monica
Daryl Morey and Ben Simmons have played this game before.
Does this not, though, create the most uncomfortable place, which is training camp, where I'm walking in the gym and, here comes the guy that tried to get me fired. Now I got to play nice with you?
I think that's bigger in our minds. We're going to go play basketball, and so eventually you roll the balls out and you get after it. It just comes down to basketball. But to your point, Jay, I don't think that this would happen, but I do think it's something worth exploring. And here's why. You're not going to get what you want in terms of KD on the trade market, right? he has shown that he's willing to show up and be reliable. I said this to you earlier, Han. I think we've forgotten how this team looked circa December before he was injured and the way that he was putting together an MVP caliber type of year and was carrying a roster that did not include Kyrie Irving. He's not a guy that comes around every year. It's something that you at least explore in my mind because nobody is coming to the arena to see Sean Marks or Steve Nash. And so to me, it may be a non-starter, but I think if we're to believe reports that this meeting was as professional and honest as it is projected, then who's to say that a relationship can't exist between Sy and KD that would move this team forward?
Well, my point on this whole thing is like Sean Marks is the guy that's actually organized this team to get them to the point where on paper they are a title contender. So look, at the end of the day, Kevin Durant has co-signed a lot. It may not have been his voice, but trust me, it's gone through Kevin Durant for all these decisions. So let's all have accountability. That's why I said I might be willing to find middle ground on Steve Nash. You know, first time head coaching experience with KD and Kyrie trying to win a championship. Sean Marks, no, but also come to the table with who are better suitable candidates that can replace Steve Nash that you will listen to help you win a championship.
Okay, I got you maybe on a compromise. I just think to me the idea that all of a sudden we're clutching our pearls because we've gone now to the owner is ridiculous when we have been building to this point in this league for however long.
You are ceding power to the players if you do this.
Bro,
You understand
not
that,
just
right?
any player
You
though,
are
y'all.
ceding
Come
power.
on. This is not just any guy.
I'm on your side. There's
Come
middle
on.
ground.
And
I think we can find middle ground.
Is it ceding power or is it collaborating?
Collaborate.
I'm just
Get
saying.
these guys fired is not. Fire these guys is not a collaboration, though. I don't understand it.
I don't.
All right.
The power play
It
of
has
it
to be
is not my
resolved
thing.
somehow, some way. How does it get resolved, Jay? Does it get resolved by just simply saying we all got to work together, we all got to figure it out? Because Josiah just said, I'm not getting rid of my front office.
Well, he
I'm
didn't
not
say
getting
that.
rid of my
Thank
coach.
you. He
He
didn't
didn't
quite
say
say
that.
that. He didn't quite say that.
Do you want to read the tweet
He didn't
again?
quite say
Can we,
that.
can we put the tweet
Please
back up
put
on
the
the
tweet
board?
up. Please put the tweet
Because
up.
the
Production, please.
Our front office and coaching staff have my support. We will make decisions in the best interest of the Brooklyn Nets.
Can you read that last line one more time?
We will make decisions in the best interest of the Brooklyn
okay.
Nets.
Okay, just say
so
it.
like the best interest of the Brooklyn Nets is to win a championship. How you go about doing that is ultimately the big question that we have to ask. So all I'm saying to you is there might be wiggle room there, but at the end of the day, I'm never going to acquiesce to a player all the way. There is middle ground. You have to find that middle ground and collaborate.
Where's Bontemps? See, I told you the door's still open. Where's Bontemps?
So that's how you're leaving it. Is there a scenario where Kevin Durant plays for the Nets this season? Like, do you see it still as that's the only option, only real option for him, not necessarily the Nets?
You see that line I just
Oh, I
drew?
was like, what just happened?
That's the line I'm drawing. So what I'm saying to you is, people are saying, well, the market isn't the market what it was for Rudy Gobert. I'm like, well, okay, are we going to have that same kind of narrative when it comes along to Lamar Jackson when we set the market for Deshaun Watson? No, we're not, right? The market is what the market and the players have dictated. So I know what I can get for Rudy Gobert. I'm looking at Kevin Durant, even if you want to argue 1, 2, or 3, the best player in basketball. That is worth more than Rudy Gobert. I still feel like I'm slightly losing if I get something comparable to Rudy Gobert. So is Boston on the table? Jaylen Brown, Derek White, picks? It's not going to cut it for me. It's not going to give me the equivalent for that. No. You're going to have to play. We have to play.
Give you back your franchise, control of your franchise. Monica, so you guys are just, this is the way to go. He's a great player. Give him what he wants.
I didn't say give him what he wants.
Jay, I am more inclined to at least explore it in earnest. Sean Marks and Steve Nash cannot suit up, hon. Come on, like we're talking very basic level. And again, I keep going back to earlier in the season. I think if KD had a history of being a little bit more temperamental in terms of not showing up and being willing to play basketball, I would be a little bit more hesitant. But we know, one thing we know about KD is he loves the game of basketball and the opportunity to compete and have a chance to win. If this gives me a pathway there, I'm at least exploring it.
I'm saying David Blatt was LeBron James' head coach once, right?
I'm saying Kenny Atkins. You know where we were in March 2020
I'm not
arguing
saying the
about Kenny
GM.
Atkins.
I'm not saying the
guys.
GM, but I am.
I love these guys.
Talking coach.
The NFL, the NBA is in big trouble. It's in big